So maybe you've been in the situation before where you've planned a date, it's in a couple of weeks time, you're all excited, but it gets to the time of the date, you touch base with your match and all of a sudden, radio silence. Or they reschedule on you last minute, or they've just completely turned into a ghost.
He's ghosting me.
And that's because keeping a date that's far away can be definitely tricky, and there is definitely a little bit of a strategy on what you can do to make sure that the date still happens. Now first, if you're new to the channel, my name is Steve from dudehack.com and I'm an online dating coach for men. And at dudehack.com, we help men transform their online dating life. So if that's something that interests you, consider subscribing. But today is all about how exactly to keep those far away dates. So let's jump into it.
Let's go, let's go, let's go. Let's get it.
Now look, this can be a little bit of a tricky one for some guys, and I do get a lot of questions about this, or people sending in their messages when they've asked for a date and they get really confused why it didn't actually go forward. And it can be tricky because I mean, a lot of women do like to have a lot of planning time for the dates. They want to be sure that they're free, they want to know exactly what they're doing, and having that time to plan can definitely help. But if it is too far away, and if you don't do everything that we're going to talk about in this video, then you can set yourself up for a date that is probably going to cancel. This would even confuse me back in the day, years ago before I started Dude Hack. I'd make a date for a few weeks time and I would get really confused why they would never go forward.
Am I different? What is wrong with me?
And I've seen it with a lot of my clients. Like I said, either they would plan a date for a couple of weeks time, it would get to that time, the person would reschedule and then keep rescheduling and then never actually go on the date, or unfortunately they would just ghost them altogether. Now it kind of makes sense when you really think about it. I am a big advocate of thinking about how your match is feeling when she's talking to you. And when you have planned that date with her, she should really be at that sort of peak of her feeling when she's talking to you. So if you let too much time pass between that feeling and the date, there is a good feeling that that feeling is going to drop off, and she might even question if she even really wants to go out with you. Now, I'm sorry, man, if you have kept getting rescheduled on, it's not because your match is busy, it's because that feeling is gone. So you should think about it like this. The further away the date, the more likely it is to be canceled or just not happen. Now, recently I completed a video on exactly how to ask your Hinge match out, or really any dating app for that matter. And I do suggest you watch that. And once you've got that down pat, another thing to add based on what we're talking about right now is to make sure that you're not planning your date for too far away. I personally think you should try to plan it within that week, even sooner, that night, tomorrow night, the day after if possible. But things do sometimes just get in the way. That's life, and that's why you've clicked on today's video. I mean, maybe she's gone away for a work trip or something and she's literally only going to be back in like 2 to 3 weeks. The point is there are circumstances where you will only be able to plan a day that is about 2, 3, maybe even 4 weeks out. So what can you do to increase your chances to make sure that the match does not cancel?
How do you plan to accomplish that?
Well, first, let's have a look at a bad example of a conversation that I've seen recently. Now, I found this conversation on Reddit, and it was from somebody asking like, what went wrong? How come the date didn't go on? And like getting kind of annoyed at the girl because she didn't go on the date. And I see what he's done and I'm just like, oh man, like you so could have kept that date on if you followed what we're about to go through. Now, you might see yourself having a look at this conversation because it is a bit of an extreme example, but essentially where they went wrong was getting the date, getting a confirmation, a yes, and then radio silence. That is the worst thing to do when it comes to online dating. You've peaked the conversation, it's gotten to the point where you said yes for the date, and then you just dropped off and nosedived straight into the ground. So pretty straightforward. There's a few ways that you want to make sure that you are keeping that date and making sure that you're definitely not doing what was shown in that example. Now, first and foremost, you want to make sure that you do confirm the date and then carry on with your conversation. The last thing that you want to do is just get a yes and go, okay, cool, sounds good, and then stop the conversation. That's so weird. Imagine you met a girl in person and you were talking a little bit and then you said, cool, we should go for a date. And she said, yeah, cool, sounds good. And then you just walked away. That would be super strange. You want to keep the conversation at least going for a little bit. And if you have followed all the steps of how to properly ask out your match based on the video I showed you before, how to properly ask a match out on Hinge, then you should have a pretty good idea of the time and place that you are going. So again, you just want to confirm, say something like, cool, sounds good, it's got really good food there, can't wait.
Cannot wait.
And then you want to follow it up with something else and just continue your conversation. So what I really mean is don't keep talking about the date. Cool, you you've confirmed it, move on and don't just go radio silent. Now there is a couple more things to do as the days go on after that, but first, just a quick word from our sponsor. So just a very short break for today's sponsor, and today's sponsor is me. Now the channel is supported 100% by just myself. We don't have any external sponsors. With that being said, I want to tell you about today's sponsor, which is Hook Her Heart. I've developed this groundbreaking new course which teaches you everything you would need to know about online dating from A to Z. It's called Hook Her Heart, the modern gentleman's guide to attracting, entertaining, and retaining high quality women. In my new jam-packed 5-module course, I'll walk you through some of the most vital concepts like how to build a good physique, exactly what to eat, whether you want to lean up or gain some muscle, my methodology for upgrading your look from grooming to a whole wardrobe transformation, a fresh overhaul to an attractive, intriguing dating profile, my exact process for optimizing your pictures to get way more matches, my best openers that get interested responses from women, live breakdowns of magnetic conversations, my core methodologies, and the 6 pillars of conversation, what to do on the date to give her an amazing experience, and the smoothest, most natural way to escalate towards your end goal. Plus, so much more inside the course. And 3 awesome bonuses that you'll get for free if you sign up before my special introductory price expires. So if you are serious about transforming your dating life and you want to learn literally everything you would ever need to, well then click the link down in the description below so you can get the special introductory price offer that's not going to be available for long. Now that's it for today's sponsor. Back to the video. Now look, in those days following, let's say that you have a date for 2 weeks time. What I suggest is on those days, don't try to force a conversation too much and start asking bullshit, boring questions. But what I do suggest is definitely touching base or making contact at least every couple of days or so. And this definitely doesn't have to be full conversations asking how her day was and things like that, but it can be simple things like sending her TikToks or memes or posts. Now in Hook Her Heart, which is the video course you would have just seen in the sponsor there, we run through how to effectively have callbacks or little inside jokes. Now this instance is the best time to use a callback or a personal joke. If you want to know how to effectively do this, remember, check out Hook Her Heart down below. But pulling out an inside joke or something that you were talking about in that initial conversation when she was feeling good and she was ready to have that date with you just puts her back in that same state of mind. And it's a little way to be like, hey, I'm still here. Don't forget me. Now, if you have followed everything in Hook Her Heart or you have watched all the other videos on how to have good conversations, she's not going to forget you. But the better way to put it is she is going to remain in that state of mind. She is going to keep feeling the feeling that she was having when she was first talking to you. Again, if you just disappear and go radio silent, that feeling is going to dissipate. And callbacks and personal jokes can give you kind of like a little topic to send, say, TikToks or memes about, which can be a really good way to keep your match feeling that she had. But look, don't force any of these things that I'm talking about. If you guys are having like really good back and forth conversations and you guys are just like dying to go back and forth and talk to each other, then don't just send memes because I've said so. What I'm getting at is a conversation I see most of the time when it comes to planning a date is they've been speaking for about a day or two. You go ahead and you plan the date and then it's kind of like, cool, yep, see you later. But if you guys are having like a super in-depth conversation back and forth, do not force just trying to send memes and TikToks. But either of those ways, just having some little gentle reminders of your existence in that time is going to make sure that she is still excited for that date in 2 weeks' time than she was at the time when she agreed to it. Now, there is one last thing that I do suggest is super important that you do leading up to that date. Now, this is the thing that just drives me crazy when I see guys like in that example before, acting all confused why their match didn't agree to the date. Because if on the day before your date, you come right out and just say like, hey, are we still on for that date? Or something boring like that, then most likely she's not going to be down. You're just setting yourself up for failure by sending a message like that. Again, it's all about feeling. So we want to just bring her right back to those feels right before the date. So again, if you have been following the effective way to have conversations, you know what the 6 pillars of conversation are. You should know what it is if you've gone through Hook Her Heart down below. Then you'll know that incorporating humor or being a little bit ridiculous or bantery is a really good way to have conversations. So this is something that you should bring right back right before the date. So I always like to make a little joke right before the date to just confirm rather than being boring and being like, hey, are we still on? Like, of course, it's still on. You should be confident about it and not ask in that weak way. So I like to make a little bit of the joke again, just to remind them and bring them back into that state. And that joke could be something along the lines of, hey, just a reminder, our date is in 2 days, so you don't forget to buy me flowers. Again, that's a bit of an example from Hook Her Heart where we talk about turning the tables. Again, the link is down in the description if you want to check that out. I always think that you should get the date confirmed a couple of days out, and doing it in a funny, humorous way like this is always the better way to go about it. So if you've done all of these things, you've kept the conversation going a little bit after you've actually confirmed the date in the first place, you've sent memes, TikToks, posts to bring that person back into the state you were, you've incorporated the callbacks and the inside jokes that you were talking about in the first conversation to again bring them back to that first initial feeling, and then you've done this little reminder in a humorous way right before the date, you are going to have that date, my friend. And you're going to make sure that you're definitely not getting ghosted anymore. But look, if you're someone who's not even getting enough opportunities to get towards the date because you feel that you need more matches, then maybe it's your profile that needs some help. On that note, I do suggest you take our free quiz down below where you can upload your profile, you can answer a series of questions where myself and the team from Dude Hack will assess those and give you some personalized feedback. That can be the quickest and freest way to actually start making some changes on your profile today. But again, if you just want to skip right ahead to the elite and start making sure that your profile, the way you have conversations and the way that you get dates and actually act on the dates is elite, then do check out Hook or Heart down below, which a reminder is our video course that teaches you everything you would literally ever need to know about online dating. Go check out all my other videos on everything dating apps and even how to get dates on other dating apps. If you have liked the video, go and press the little thumbs up button and consider subscribing. But until next time, guys, see you later.